Yo, 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 what is going on, everybody? It's a brand new hockey happy hour. I'm sorry, Flyers A2G. My bad. That's one on me. Tonight we're going to be talking about tonight we're talking about John Tortorella, some of the comments that he made after the Islanders game last night. The 5-game winless streak the Flyers are on here towards the end of the season. He got 6 games remaining. Can they turn that around? And we're going to talk the elephant in the room, Ivan I'm sorry, how do you say it?
Fedotov.
Fedotov. Fedotov. We're going to talk. We'll
Fedotov.
talk a little
How does the
Fedotov.
Ranger fan know that?
I've been practicing it all day, but we're going to talk a little bit of that. We're going to talk about his debut. How'd he do? What's his future possibly going to look like? Is he living up to the hype? We're going to talk about all that. So hit that like, hit that subscribe, turn those notifications on. Give us a share too if you're over on Facebook, a retweet on Twitter. Let's go. It's time to talk some puck.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new edition of Flyers Talk here at A2D. I am Matt Sansuni along with the Dark Wing, Brian Daly.
Off 2 weeks, and you know what happens? You start forgetting everything that we did over the last month. Jeez Louise, I'm supposed to be the one on top of it all.
It's all right. I made the same mistake a few weeks ago. It's okay.
Let's go.
It's just 2 minutes. It's a 2-minute minor. You'll be all right.
I'll take it.
And we've got the broken one, Rob Povia.
Leave it to me. I'll be giving Brian the business all show long. Let's go.
Your fantasy team's apparently given the business since you had Bryce Harper started, so there you go.
Yeah, buddy.
And
buddy.
we have Mr. Blue Shirt, Mr. Switzerland, Mr. Broadway, Big Bad Brad Ryer. And we welcome you all to a brand new episode of Flyers Talk A2D, brought to you by Specialized Physical Therapy. If you got any aches and pains, go to the doc, Dr. Paul Vidal, at www.specializedphysicaltherapy.com. Let their team of highly trained professionals over in Cherry Hill or Burlington, New Jersey take care of you. You won't have any more aches and pains when you leave there. And even though they may not be good for like the mental health, I think it will be actually. I think you'll actually even think better, think clearer when you won't be in pain anymore. So it's awesome all the way around. You'll be better than new. So the poll question for today, definitely one that I think everyone can get in on here. John Tortorella is justified in calling his team soft after a disappointing loss to the Islanders. Agree or disagree? Well, it has not been a pleasant last week for the Flyers here. We are getting oh so very close to the end of the season. We've only got, 2 weeks left? Even
6
actually,
games.
yeah.
6 games.
6 games. So, I mean, we are getting to the nitty-gritty here, and the Capitals are officially ahead of the Flyers in the standings because of tiebreakers. And the Red Wings are only 2 points behind. And the Flyers are in the last wildcard spot by a country mile because the Lightning seem to have the first one all nice locked up nice and tight. So the problem is the Flyers need to get some wins. Gentlemen, this poll question, do you agree with it or do you disagree, knowing all of that?
I'm gonna agree with the poll. I think it's very justified, especially with the way that this team was playing early on in the season. You're not seeing this team fight and put forth that effort that you've seen earlier on in the season. I get it, long season. A lot of guys are younger; they're not built for this yet. But in that same breath, you got to go out there. You got to give that same effort you've been given all season long. I know there have been some injuries throughout the season. You're just getting Drysdale back, Sealer's getting back into the swing of things. You lose Couturier in the first period of the Islanders game. That doesn't help. You're getting productivity from some of the better guys, but in that same breath, you need some of these other vets to step up. Guys like Couturier, Noah Cates stepped up yesterday. You saw Stanheim step up a little bit yesterday. And ultimately, you need to get some consistency from your goaltending that you're not getting right now. You know, one of the big things that I'm always going to say is these goaltenders are young. Sandstrom, not as young as Ersson, but still just as young. He doesn't have a ton of time in the NHL. Ersson doesn't have a ton of time in the NHL. We know that most goalies won't hit their prime and show what they're really capable of until about 24, 25 years old. So we still got roughly 2 years with Ersson to see where he is. So you go ahead and you bring Ivan Fedotov over. You bring Kolosov over, which is great for the Flyers because they really need to help with goaltending. And if these guys are even close to what they showed in Russia, Flyers are going to get some help. But they need to toughen up. They need to start playing physical again. They need to get back to doing all the little things right and play a little bit of a gritty game. And I think they can turn it around. They got 6 games left. I know the Capitals have 2 games in hand on the Flyers. So you got to rack up as many points as possible and stop playing whatever it is that they're playing right now. Because I agree with John Tortorella. They've been playing soft. And to be completely honest with you, I thought last night's second period, he said it perfectly. It was embarrassing for not just the guys on the ice, but for the fan base as well. Granted, they redeemed themselves a little bit in the third, but it really looked like the only guy that came to play last night was Ivan.
Yeah, it's a rough situation with the way that things are going right now. Before we jump on over to Rob, we got Chucks. What's going on, Chucks? He's saying, agree to the poll. I mean, this is Torts, right? This isn't surprising. What's up, Eric, by the way? He said hello, everyone.
What's up, Eric?
And then we've got Dennis J. DeWitt saying he called them soft in the second, but also shout out to some played better in the third. He's had the team playing hard all year, and they look a little gassed. We've talked about that. This team not having that second gear yet, having to learn how to develop that on the fly. Mike is saying, go Phillies, disgusted with the Flyers and the Phillies' poor performance. But then he said, go Phillies before. Mike, what do you mean by that, brother? Yeah, it's a little contradictory there. And then Eric said, Torts is right. So, Rob, shoot it on over to you. How are you feeling on this poll?
I agree as well, but for different reasons and from a different angle. So maybe this could be an interesting conversation. We'll see. I think the lack of the recent wins is not from playing soft. But I think it's, Torts calling out his team, saying certain people that don't have it in them, right? To me, that's just a coach calling out his club that is not playing well right now, and it's time to step the F up in crunch time, and he's justified doing so. That's what a coach needs to do when you're winless in 5 straight. But look, I believe they are playing hard. I believe it's more of a situation where they're going to make mistakes and they're going to get beat. That's expected from a young team who's learning what it takes to be a winner here in Philadelphia. But when vets, and I think this is more where John Tortorella's comments were pointed towards, again, criticizing Sean Couturier and throwing Cam Atkinson into that mix, who, in my opinion, should not be playing over Bobby Brink right now. But that's a story for another day. But I think with those two, when vets like Cam and Sean are making those same mistakes that we're seeing from, say, Morgan Frost, who, to his credit, battled in front of the net and got that game-tying goal to send that game into overtime to at least net a point for that game, but yet had that costly turnover, which cost them the second point. You're seeing those same mistakes from guys that shouldn't be making those mistakes. And whether that's, to your guys' point, whether that's them hitting the wall, whether that's now injury in terms of Sean Couturier or whatever, they're going to become the eggs that need to get broken as this team rebuilds and clears room for more young talent that's in the pipeline.
Right. So before jump on over to Brad, Mike then says, hey, Rob, Maddie, Brian, Brad, opinion live. Which coach is in more danger to lose his job? Philly Topper or Torts? I don't think Torts is in danger of losing his job.
No.
For one thing, he just got here. Secondly, look at the way that the team played all year long. I think the whole body of work will have to come into context here, and I don't think you move on from that.
There's one way and one way only and he's been teetering on that level, right, in terms of treating the press, but then coming out and taking accountability, saying, "Look, my body language was wrong the other night. Apologize." I was almost surprised. Well, actually, he never said he was sorry. He just said he was wrong. So let's get that straight.
Well,
But Torch,
for him
if
to
he
say
goes
that-
over that line, that could maybe cost him his job. But I would think more Topper here, because this is a team that needs to win now, and they've been there. And if you're not getting over that hump, you need to find someone that can lead them who will.
And let's see here. We also have Wills chiming in. What's up, guys? What's up, Wills?
Hey, Willie.
And Mike said, I'm salty at opening day. Was at the game. Ooh, sorry about that, brother.
I would be too.
He also said he was also at the game where Nola pitched poorly. And then Swoopy saying, yo, gentlemen, what's up, Swoopy?
Hey, Swoopy.
And Anthony saying, hey, guys, what's up, Anthony? Okay, Brad, outside looking in. Good sir. Noel, not necessarily, because you know Tortorella. He was your coach for a while, too.
Yeah.
So, agree or disagree?
Listen, he's justified to do whatever he wants. He's the coach, and he's going to say whatever he wants, and no matter whether you like it or the press likes it or the team likes it, this is what he does. This is how he motivates his players, okay? He probably thinks that they're too soft on the puck when they're getting the puck, and that they're not going into the corners, and they're getting out hustled going into the corners. So he wants to call them out. That's really kind of it at this point. You know, I mean, I think that this team has given you all they can possibly give. And I just think, you know, because of the lack of talent, okay, these guys have been doing it on effort all year long. And I mean, I'll give you an example of another team that basically, you know, has crapped out this whole season, really, is the Seattle Hockey Club.
Kraken.
Yeah, the Kraken. They crapped out pretty bad. You know, because they gave all that effort last year, not an overly talented team, didn't make enough changes and bring up enough new faces, and, you know, ran out of gas. And I think that's what's happening with the Flyers right now.
To be fair, though, I think the Kraken have a little bit more of an excuse than the Flyers do, only because they're still a rather new team. It's only their 4th year in the league. So you can kind of give them a little bit more leeway than the Flyers, because the Flyers have been around for a while, and they've been trying to hit the reset button, and now they're officially finally getting into the nitty-gritty of it. But I feel like Seattle you can give a little bit more leeway to, just a little bit.
Well, because
just
they
they're
made the
expansion.
semifinals last year. Okay.
True, but I think that was their Stanley Cup, because I think that was where their goal was to prove that they could make the playoffs, and I feel like now that they've achieved that, I feel like a little bit of that has kind of worn off a little bit now that they've made the playoffs. Now you got to try and find, okay, so what's the next big thing for you guys to accomplish?
Yeah, what did they do wrong?
Right.
Yeah.
Now they got to prove a lot, you know, in next year.
Bottom line is this, okay? This team has given you all they've got. Torch is trying to reach for something,
right?
That there may or may not be in them right now. You know, the problem is when you have a team that plays that grinding style, okay, for a whole season, and you know it's so difficult for them to score goals because they always have to score goals 5-on-5. They never get a lot of power play goals, so they don't get those gift goals, you know, from the other teams taking stupid penalties. You know, it wears on you, and I think it all comes down to the power play and how bad the power play has been this year. You know, and unfortunately, that injury to Jamie Drysdale, I think that injury really, really hurt them, because when you guys first got him, okay, the power looked like it was starting to, you know, get going, and for whatever reason, it's just not, you know, and it's. He seemed to really, you know, when he was out there, you know, they had the quarterback out there, and the power play seemed to do well. Now, you know, they don't get easy goals. That's part of the problem. You know, they have to work very, very hard to score a goal, and it seems like if they do one thing wrong, the other team ends up scoring, and that kind of sucks when that happens. You know,
right.
I mean, it does. It's you know, it's like what happened to the Rangers last night. Okay, for the most part, they dominated the Penguins last night. Okay, but it seemed like every time in the first 10 minutes of the game, they were dominating the game, but for whatever reason, it seemed like every mistake they made was a turnover to Crosby. And you can't do that against them, even though you have 30 more points than them. And I think the same applies to the Flyers.
You really can't.
So hard, Matty. It's hard, and I think they're just running out of gas. I think you're going to see them show a lot of heart and determination, and they're going to do what they have to do to try to make it. I think that somehow, some way, they'll finish ahead of the Wings and they'll end up in fourth place. I don't see it with the Capitals, though. I mean, the Capitals have had a real hard schedule, but when they start playing some of the lesser teams, they're not going to lose to the lesser teams the way the Flyers have. Yeah,
with games in hand,
seems to be a problem. I mean, you can't lose to Montreal.
No,
you just can't. In Chicago, you can't lose to those teams.
I will say this though about the Montreal game, a lot of that was bad luck because the Flyers were playing really hard and just goals getting called back. Even Montreal had a goal called back. It was just, oh, by the way, guys, like, subscribe, hit the bell. One more time. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell. So that way you get all the notifications.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, you guys are right. You're not seeing as many. You're still seeing goals on the transition, but not as many. And that's going to. And when you're not having that strong transition game, which was a big surprise from this Flyers team, right? You got to work harder for those goals, and they're not. The dirty goals aren't always going to go in for you. You need that puck luck, and I think it's been a combination of those two things. But yeah, playing letdown games to Montreal and the Blackhawks don't help the situation one bit.
Yeah, you want to talk about an absolutely piss poor effort. That Blackhawks game sets it in right there. That is just, wow. You lost that badly to one of the worst teams in the West. It's just, that's unacceptable at this time of the year.
But the positive, though, is you guys said it, right? This defense. Now, we didn't have Jamie Drysdale when this thing started, this 2023-24 season, right? But he became an asset for this team that, the holy grail of defensemen, the right-handed shot. So now all of a sudden you rely on that, and now it's taken away from you. But integrating back in, that's a shot in the arm, especially for a team that was swooning, in terms of energy level. And that's going to be natural for young kids. And I know I was picking on Cam and Coots earlier on in the show, but these are guys that are coming back from injury too. And we're nearing almost 82 here. 6 games left, I believe you said, Brian?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Swoopy saying, whoever is calling out Torts or thinks Torts is unprofessional and not the right guy is clueless. He is the kind of coach this team has been needing for ages. He is always straight to the point. He isn't playing, he's coaching. His moves come as a surprise, but they work. He's the doll told leading coach in wins as a USA-born guy, and the lack of talent is the biggest issue.
I was chatting earlier today on our Facebook, and I was saying, is Torts made for Philly or is Philly made for Torts? Because I think this is a guy that maybe didn't last long in other cities that could last long here.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it, Robbie, because it goes both ways. I think Torts is for Philly and Philly is for Torts. Just he's a blue collar coach that knows how to work hard and does things the right way. This is a blue-collar city. Whether you agree with it or not, it's a fact.
Right, and what I find funny is when people complain. It's like, so you wanted a hardline coach this whole time, and when you get a hardline coach who's hardlined, you bitch. It's like, you wanted a hardline coach. Yeah. This is what happens when you get one. He's going to call out players. He's going to tell them, yeah, you're playing like crap. That's essentially what he's saying. Mm-hmm. You're playing like crap, and you got treated like crap. So you know what? Play better. Step it up.
And you know what's funny? Like, you're seeing a lot of guys, especially this year, that you didn't really see kind of answer the bell or answering the bell this year because they know what the expectations are with John Tortorella. You're seeing Morgan Frost, who had a slow start, but he's starting to really pick it up. Owen Tippett's picking right back up where he left off. Konechny, I don't think he's ever played better under any coach right now than he's playing under John Tortorella. These guys are answering the bell for Torts. So if he's calling them out for something, whether it's soft play, lack of accountability, anything like that, it's because it's actually what it is. Like he's not gonna sugarcoat it. We know this. We knew this when he was coming here.
Right.
Everybody got excited. Oh, we're gonna get some great sound bites with John Tortorella. True, but you're also gonna get a coach who holds his players accountable. If you're not playing the scheme right or you're not producing, you're not gonna play. And we're seeing this. And of all the people to bench, sending a massive message. Sean Couturier gets benched for 2 games. He comes back. He plays a couple good games since. I don't think he found a scored start, but he's been playing better.
The effort's there.
The effort's there. Again, is there not a star here yet? I mean, I think we got a couple in the making. Obviously, Michkov is still going to be a question mark because we're not going to see him for another 2 years at least.
I mean, you could get one in Tippett. You could get one in. I mean, obviously
Right.
we know. Yeah, you get one in Tippett. Obviously York has the potential to be really good. Forster, obviously, as well.
York and
Bobby
Forster
Brink
stepping
could
up
turn out to
huge.
be something great too.
Mm-hmm. York,
So
to your point, Maddie, like York and Forster coming up huge this year. 2 guys took 2 massive steps forward this year, and then you have a couple guys down that are gonna probably need like another year before they come up. Denver Barkley, who had a massive collegiate season, signed his ELC, so he might spend the year in the AHL. You got Oliver Bonk, who's I believe he signed his ELC.
yes,
And he might spend a year in the AHL. He might make the roster right out of camp. Who knows? There might not be a superstar on this roster at the moment, but there's stars coming. This
Right.
team, like we've been saying, I know we've been saying this for years. I know I've probably been the worst of it. The future's bright. I think John Tortorella is the coach to take these guys to that next level and get this team back to relevancy. And we're seeing it this year.
right. And I mean, the way here's the thing too. Thanks, Don. By the way, he also said the Capitals are losing 5-2, which is a blessing, very much our saving grace that the Capitals cannot put any distance between the Flyers and them because they're tripping over themselves too, which is nice to see.
Absolutely. So are the
And-
Islanders, really.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the
Or
truth.
the Red Wings. None of them really seem to want it.
Thank God, because
Yep.
that might just leave enough wiggle room before it's too late, which it's coming down to the wire, and the last game of the season is the Flyers and the Capitals. Oh my God, it does 2010 all of a sudden start ringing a bell all of a sudden. It's like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
great.
Bring that up.
Hey, I'm just saying, if it is, you all remember what happened in 2010. Just
So-
saying,
so-
putting that
So
juju
who we
out
make
there.
the 3-0 comeback against? You think it's going to be the Rangers this time?
Oh,
Hey, listen, you know as well as I do, Brad, it is
Any
very
team is
possible for the
capable.
Rangers
Listen.
to blow a 3-0 lead.
yeah. Anything can happen. We know that. We know.
Especially in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yeah, and
Right.
the Rangers have lost to inferior teams in the playoffs before. So it's
Just
not like
last year.
it's not like it would be the first time.
Ooh, 6-2 Buffalo.
Nice.
But,
See,
Oh, yeah, Buffalo actually thinks they're in it too. By the way,
they
Yeah.
think.
well, you know what though,
Playing
really,
good.
if they didn't lose Thompson for so long, they probably would have been.
Mm.
Right.
Yeah, they're a good young team.
That was a real tough loss for them.
So Mike is saying Kolsov is going to Lehigh Valley, so our
Mhm.
goalie pool has become more solid as we don't have a goalie problem in the pipeline compared to other teams' prospect pools. Thoughts on Danny fixing the pipeline for both Lehigh Valley and the ECHL Reading Royals to funnel up quality young talent finally? Thank God. That's the way I look at it. It's like it's about time somebody took the time and the effort to fix that shit.
Yeah, and there's still one guy that hasn't been mentioned yet, and that's Bjornsson. But
Yep.
to touch on Lehigh Valley's goalie situation isn't terrible, but all Kozlov is going to do is he's just going to help solidify stuff. We know he's not coming up here. He's going to get the time in the AHL, which is good because they say that, as Robbie said, and I'm going to say because I know I'm going to probably piss some people off by saying it this way, but I'm gonna Fedotov is is I know that if this gets clipped, I know one guy who's going to see that and he's going to get mad at me. but Fedotov,
Is it Fedotov?
if he pans out even remotely over the next 6 games, and I'm pretty sure he's probably going to play the bulk of them after getting the start. Well, not the start, but coming in relief against the Islanders. I think he's gonna. I'm not going to say the problems are solved because it's only a small sample size, but if Fedotov turns into half of what we think he's going to be over the next 6 games, the Flyers may be in good shape heading into the next season as far as goaltending goes.
Right.
Yep. Well, what's key here is that this isn't a young goaltender. I mean, people need to remember he was drafted 7 years ago and is now 27 years of age, so he can step right in, whereas Koloslov needs that development. He's still a 22-year-old kid, and unlike, what we saw with Hart, he needs that time getting acclimated to the NHL game, and I agree with it, but, Fedotov really showed that he could play on this level, as we'll cover later on in the show.
Absolutely. Let's see here. Anthony's saying the game was fixed for the Rangers win between the Flyers and the Rangers. The Flyers and Rangers game.
Right, I agreed. The size.
You guys are just mad that Ersson couldn't stop a football that night.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he's had a few of those, but I think a lot of that is due to, I think he's one of the guys that's suffering from being gassed because he's being
overworked.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that poor guy was, and it's not his fault. The poor guy got asked halfway through the season after Hart is gone to say, hey, man, listen, we need you to be the starter. We know you were ready for tandem, but we need you to do the big load here. And having third-string goaltenders like Sandstrom and Peterson, it's like, oh, yeah, you kind of are going to have to rely on Ersson. So I felt bad for the guy, if anything. It's like, oh, that poor guy.
He played well, but you know what? He's worn down. He's played too many games.
Mm-hmm.
He's never done that before.
Right.
Yeah,
it's like a pitcher throwing who's never thrown more than 125 innings, and now he's on his inning number 175. And you expect him to have the same velocity and the same control as he did before. It's just it's not going to happen until they go through it.
Yeah.
No, I absolutely agree with you, Brad. Because you go back to the start of this winless streak. Again, Montreal, a game they should have won, very winnable game. He didn't look great. He didn't look terrible, but he didn't look great. He let up a lot of softies in there. Same thing with the game against Chicago. The 2 games they should have won.
You can't say it's all his fault, but remember one thing, and one of the Ranger announcers mentioned this the other day, about Igor, especially last night. His job is to stop the puck. I don't care whose fault it is, stop the puck, period. And you know what? He made a good point. It was Joe Micheletti, actually, and he made a good point because you know what? That's all these goalies. That's their job, whether it's their fault or not. You got to stop the puck. If it's something that it's impossible for them because the defense just is letting them get second and third opportunities, then okay, it's his job to stop the puck, but within reason. But you know what? The thing is, he's got to stop the first shot. Doesn't matter where it's from. The first shot has to be stopped.
Right.
Okay. Unless you get traffic, unless the other team has traffic in front of the net, no excuses anymore. And I say the same thing about my goalie or anybody else's goalie. If there's no screen, I don't want to hear it.
Right.
Stop the damn puck. That's your job.
I mean, it's been rough for a guy like Ersson. I mean, if it was keeping up, I was going to have to give him some banana boat because he was getting sunburn on the back of his neck from all the goals he was letting in. But, it just at some point it just gets there. It's just like, you know what, he really is working better in a tandem. And I think if Fedotov works out well, then you can kind of say, all right, let's do the tandem again, because I think we learned our lesson the hard way that we should have at least something just in case some BS out of our control pops up. I mean, we did try to get ahead of it, which I think we did rather well considering the fact,
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing though about this guy Fedotov. Okay, if the Rangers have to play the Flyers in the first round of the playoffs, which is extremely possible because the Rangers will probably, unless they're playing a bunch of fringe playoff teams right now for the rest of the season. They don't have a game against anybody that's I would consider a really good team. Okay, their schedule is ridiculously easy. Okay, but I would say this. Okay, I just remember a shitty goalie on the New Jersey Devils who stood up and beat the Rangers last year. Okay, they never saw the guy all season. They've never seen him play. They go out there and they turned him into Bernie Perrant. Okay, and you know what? The same damn thing could happen again because and that kind of scares the crap out of me. I'm not afraid of playing the Flyers. Okay, but any goalie that I've never seen before or that they've never seen before, after what happened with Schmidt last year. That kind of scares me because you know what? If they don't know how to score on the guy and there's really not a lot of film on him, that could be a scary thought.
You know what's not scary?
Igor hasn't played in the KHL in 4 years, so he's not going to know.
You know what's not scary though, Brad?
What?
You know what's not scary?
What?
Catching us every Tuesday night and anything else that A2D does by hitting that like, hitting that subscribe, and turning on those notifications. And then if you're on the social media side, Facebook, Instagram, you can always hit that share button too and let your friends know on what we're doing over here.
Absolutely.
Doing great things, and we got shows every day of the week. Let's go.
So I will say this, though. Right now, for anyone who might be wondering where the Flyers are in the standings, not that any of us are, probably nobody in the chat, but just in case, currently the Flyers are second in the second wild card spot. If the playoffs were to start today, they would be taking on the New York Rangers. So that would be the battle between the two sides. Unless it changed recently, then we would be facing Boston instead. And I don't really want either match, to be completely honest with you. But
you could always end up playing Carolina.
Could end up playing Carolina.
That's no bargain either, by the way.
Right, that's definitely no bargain.
Yeah.
And I don't know. The Flyers have had their moments where they've not exactly looked stellar against Carolina, and then they've had moments where they look pretty good against Carolina. It's been a mixed bag against them.
They do that. They do that to you, though. They make you look bad because they're so good defensively. But their goalie is very questionable. And you know, I hate Freddie Anderson. I used to say it with Rob all the time on the Sports Hounds. I think Freddie Anderson stinks, and he's never done anything for me to change my mind. He had a big spot. He will always lose.
Well, he hasn't won a Stanley Cup yet, and he hasn't gotten Carolina to the finals yet. So
he's gotten close a few times.
Did
close, sort of. Until Game 7 against the Rangers.
He went to the Western Conference Finals a couple times with Anaheim.
That's true.
I know Brad's old enough to remember this saying.
Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah.
Oh, so, yeah, but that's not necessarily all on Freddie Anderson. I mean, you had Bruce Boudreau, Mr. I disappear in Game 7 for that entire stretch. So it's not entirely on Freddie.
Right.
What were you saying,
Freddie's come close. But close is only good in horseshoes and hand grenades.
Mike, by the way, is saying, okay, so who's everyone's cup predictions? Now mine's changed to 3 outcomes. Edmonton and the Rangers, Canucks and the Panthers, Bruins and the Stars. Out of those 3...
I actually like the Rangers in Vancouver.
I think...
It's going to be a 94 rematch.
I don't know if Vancouver can take it. I don't know if Vancouver rocketed the last time the Rangers beat them.
Huh?
I don't know if they'd be able to handle it if it happened again. They might actually burn the city down if the Rangers beat them twice in a final. Just saying.
No, I mean Vancouver will beat them this time.
Oh, okay. Well, they'll still burn the city down out of celebration.
Well, yeah.
But anyway,
I like how to celebrate properly.
I like the Avalanche and I like the Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Avalanche did a great job.
I don't like Georgiev at all.
Don't matter.
In a big spot, he always blows it.
Don't matter. This is a way better team than he's ever had in front of him.
They weren't good enough to beat the Rangers either time they played him, though.
Okay, that's regular season play. The playoffs are a different animal.
The way both those teams were playing, that looked like a playoff game to me. Both those games. 2-1 and 3-2.
Listen, if Darcy Kemper
a lot of scrums out, you would think that those teams played each other 20 times the way they were pushing and shoving and being so dirty, hit with all those dirty hits in that game. So
Listen,
just saying, bro. I know it's not the same, but both teams were acting like it. The Colorado fans were into it too.
If Darcy Kemper can win a Stanley Cup with that defense, so can Georgiev.
Darcy Kemper is really bad, though.
That's exactly my point. It doesn't necessarily the goalie that makes the cup run. I mean, look at Vegas. They won a Stanley Cup with a third string goaltender.
But he's been pretty good this year when he's played.
I don't disagree, but I'm just saying you never know until they get there.
I'm gonna say
Okay.
I think the final for me. I'm gonna say on the West. You know, I'm gonna roll with Vancouver. And that may sound crazy, but I think I'll roll with Vancouver. And God, I really don't want this to be the case. I really, really don't. But I have a terrible feeling. I think Boston will be in because I think last year's going to stick in their craw real, real bad. And this team is, I think, not relying on three players.
Depends who they have to play in the playoffs.
Well, depending upon who's got the most points, right now it's the Rangers, so it would be the Rangers up against the Flyers. Or I'm sorry, no, the Flyers are back in third in the Metro. My bad. So it'd be the Rangers up against the Capitals, and it'd be Tampa up against Boston.
Right, and after tonight,
Tampa
Capitals
could
will
beat
still
Boston.
have 2 games in hand, but
Tampa could beat Boston too.
yeah,
Because the way they're playing right now, that could happen.
I don't know. I just feel like, this Boston team is playing a little bit more grittier, and I think that might actually take them along a much farther path, unfortunately. And I think their goaltending is, while it hasn't been maybe as deadly as it was last year, it's still been pretty solid. So I just kind of feel like, shit.
Olmark has not been nearly the goalie he was last year.
Right, but again, when you compare the other two seasons, it's like it's almost uncomparable because how do you top what you did last year? It's impossible.
That's true. You're not wrong.
So I just have this horrible feeling Boston's going to just shove it everywhere on everybody because of what happened last year when they got beaten the first round by Florida, and I think Florida will be their second victim, honestly, in the second round because I think Florida beats Toronto if it winds up shaking out this way.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it will be Florida and I think it will be Florida and Boston. I can see Boston beating Florida.
I can see it too.
Boston's owned them this season.
They want revenge. It's you lose to a team like that, it sticks with you all year long. I mean, it stuck with Tampa when they lost to Columbus. It stuck with them, and when they met Columbus again, they took care of business against Columbus. They beat them in 5. So it's just, yeah. Anyway.
Well, the first win was in 5 overtimes.
Right. It didn't beat Flyers Penguins, but it was pretty high up there.
Yeah.
Okay. So I gave mine. Brad, you gave yours. Robbie, did you give yours?
No, would you like it?
Go right ahead.
I hate predictions. God darn it. Because I think you hit the nail on the head. As good as Florida is, and a lot of people have described Florida as the best team in the NHL, or have certainly played like at times. Boston's had their number. I say they continue to, defy Father Time and represent the East, and they go up against Dallas, and Dallas wins the cup for Prism.
There you go. I can live with that. Chris. I can live with Dallas winning another one.
All right. It's been a long time since the first one. And they're not the Cowboys. I don't have any issues with them.
Same.
The Rangers couldn't beat the old people in walkers and wheelchairs. Oh, okay. Whatever.
I mean, they are one of the best teams.
They do have the best record in the league, so okay. I just putting it out there.
Yeah. So SJM saying Greg does make a great point on the second, though, as well. Is the Couturier saga creating issues?
I doubt it.
I don't know. I mean, I know there's a little bit of frustration there, but
the thing of it is, though, is that I think it is, but I don't think it's going to be a long-term problem though. Like I said, I mean, I'm seeing more and more eye to eye with Brian in terms of how naming Sean Couturier the captain was not towards his call, because I don't think guys like Sean Couturier are part of the long-term future here with the Flyers. I really just don't.
Hmm.
I'm beginning
That's
to
interesting.
question whether or not Sean Couturier may have been the right choice. I was all for it when it first happened, but he's been pretty non-existent in this span here since being named the captain. But I mean, you never know. But maybe it's just because
Right.
he's getting back into it this year.
And he got crunched the other night. We saw him not come back in that game, and his injury status. They're off till Friday, so we won't know about that for a couple days. Now we're recording this on Tuesday night here in Jersey, but yeah, no, I mean, I think you got to be responsible of your body position when you're on the ice, and him curling back on that play, just showing a non-competitive move towards the puck. It's going to lead to you getting crunched. I mean, a la Eric Lindros.
So Swoopy's saying, like, didn't I say in the show way back this year Boston wouldn't be good? Yeah, I think a lot of people were.
Yep.
You thought you'd fall off. It was a poll question regarding the Bruins, I believe. Just saying, yes, I understand you're going by now and how they look now.
They lost Bergeron and
Yeah,
Creighton.
but here's the thing: like they literally lost cornerstones of their organization. So you would naturally think that they're not going to be as good going in, And of course, like any prediction, a lot of times it's proven wrong when the season gets going. You predict things, and then the season just wants to say, "Hey, man, I'm just going to make you a liar." And that's what happens. I mean, we didn't think the Flyers were going to be good this year. I thought they were going to be dead last. I thought if they finished fifth, we're breaking out champagne. Yeah.
I did pick them to finish fifth, by the way.
Yeah, you did. Yes.
Yes.
But
fifth.
look at it this way.
Not fourth, but not fourth or third, for God's sakes.
Right. But here they are. They're in the thick of it. I mean, they're working their way to get out of it, but they're still here.
I'd also really like to see them be at 500 by the season end. I know that, the Bettman points don't count as losses, but as far as I'm concerned, they're losses. And I hate seeing that, because it I don't know. Maybe it's just me. It's like, I feel the same way with the Bruins. They're so wonderful, but what do they have? 16 overtime losses?
Something like that.
Yeah, I mean, they have 16 Bettman points. I mean, come on. Are they that good? Really?
I mean, here's the thing.
What's the real record?
Here's the thing, though. The problem with any team, it doesn't matter once you get into the playoffs. If that team is going well and they're a well-oiled machine, it's hard to stop them. The only thing that killed Florida off was they had to wait for Vegas to finish off the Western Conference Finals. Mm-hmm. If they had gone straight into the Stanley Cup Finals, who knows what would have happened? It may have been a much tighter series if it had been that case. But because they had to wait,
didn't help that cheap shot Matthew wasn't there either.
Well, that too.
I'm with Maddie. I mean that Florida team is so deep, but I agree with Maddie. Like that break hurt Florida more than it helped. Vegas was ready. They were still in shape. They were ready to go. Florida had too much time. I don't see Vegas getting back, obviously, but I can see them finding a way to sneak into the Western Conference Finals again.
It could happen. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me whoever represents the West beats Vegas to represent the West.
Is Mark Stone going to actually play in the playoffs like he usually does?
Probably.
I mean, is this a pretend injury, or is he going to actually, or is he actually?
Mike, by the way, is saying Stars Flyers Cup would be so much fun. It would be, considering the fact that when I was at the game against the Stars, everybody was chanting "Dallas sucks," and they're not even. That was great. Like, just being there live, like, wow, they are dumping on Dallas, and we're not even a rival of Dallas. That would be great if they met in the finals, just for that alone.
The only sport that their rivals are football, really.
I mean, they have a
I mean, I
couple
hate
of rivals.
I hate the Cowboys
and
too, but I have
favorite.
no axe to grind with the Stars or the Mavericks.
I was gonna
You know,
say
I mean,
Dallas is the only one that shares the same conference.
I like Texas. I've always liked them.
I mean,
I always like teams that can hit.
I mean, I think the only people who Dallas really has a rival with, I know them and the Sharks had some issues in the early 2000s. They would run into each other a decent amount. And them and Edmonton had a real issue in the 90s. So,
Everybody had issues with Edmonton.
yeah. Like, subscribe, hit the bell.
Let's see.
Eric saying, does Fedotov start Friday?
Who are they playing?
Who are they playing Friday?
Well, they got a back-to-back over the weekend, so
Good
Friday
question.
and the Saturday. So he's going to start one of those games.
They're playing
I would
Buffalo
start
on
on Friday.
Thought it was
Let's start
Buffalo. I
Friday.
should have just said it.
It's all right. I do the same thing too. I think immediately the right answer, and then I question it. It happens.
I wasn't
all
sure
the
if
time
it was
to me.
them or the Blue Jackets, but I mean, they got the Blue Jackets, the Canadians, the Rangers, the Devils, and then the Caps. That's all she wrote right there.
Right. Then the Flyers and then the Blue Jackets. I would say if Ersson, being how he's been playing these, I would say you put him up against Columbus, since Buffalo's playing a little bit stronger, and then you have Fedotov play against Buffalo.
Not just that, Matty. You give him the extra day of rest too.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would do that as play a little chess there with that, because you don't want to.
Be careful of Buffalo.
But you pulled Ersson early in the first period or after the first period, and then you have 5 days off, 4 days off, right? Mm-hmm. I think you come out there with Ersson against Buffalo, right? Because albeit, Fedotov was drafted back in 2015. I believe I said 7 years ago. It's 9 years ago. So he has a lot of hockey experience since then, but not NHL experience. I don't know. I think I would still have Ersson go up against Buffalo, and then in that back-to-back situation, so you're not starting him twice. That's when you could take a fatigue goaltender and put him in an injury situation when you're playing him on both ends to a back-to-back. So that's the value there. I mean, either way, that's the time he's going to get a start. I believe so.
Right.
Yeah. And I don't think you could go wrong going either way because, like you said, to your point, you're playing against a tough Buffalo team that's playing spoiler. Like, there's no other way to put it. They're playing spoiler to a lot of teams right now. They are playing better now during this stretch than they have all season long.
They did the same thing last year, though, remember?
And that's fine.
And every time they had a chance to actually really get into the playoff run, they would lose.
I mean, we're not really expecting Buffalo to make the playoffs here, but we're going to see them spoil a couple opportunities for some teams here. And to me, I don't think you're wrong, however way you want to split this up, because Ersson starting one game and Fedotov he's playing the other. It's a back-to-back. Like, this honestly was where I thought we were going to see Ivan for the first time, was going to be at this part of the back-to-back. I didn't expect him to play in the Islander game. But then again, I also didn't expect the Flyers to play the way they did in that first period.
Right. Now, the only way maybe you go with the Russian goaltender here in the first game, right, is let's see if you caught lightning in a bottle. And all of a sudden you see what we saw in that second period against the Islanders, where the team in front of them stopped playing for a little bit or had a lot of breaks go there against them, giving up 16 shots, and he made 15 saves in his debut, in his first period, right? What if he comes out and he pitches a shutout against Buffalo? You're like, whoa, maybe we got a little something
he's
here.
Going to play.
True.
Tortorella always likes to play the hot hand.
He does.
He's done that in his entire career.
Yeah, so I take my statement back. I'm flip-flopping. I do it rarely, but I'm flip-flopping. I think you do start Fedotov on Friday.
Okay, so Fedotov on Friday against Buffalo, and Ersson on Saturday against the Blue Jackets.
The way JJ and Boucher were pronouncing the name, I listened to it like on repeat today. It was Fedotov all game. So I don't know. This is going to be a topic for debate in terms of the proper pronunciation, because a lot of times with players from overseas, they come out and they have their first interview and they're like, oh no, it's not even pronounced anything like that. It might be a third option that nobody's saying yet.
They did it with Robert Haig too. Like everybody thought it was Haig at first. I thought it was Haig at first, and it's Haig. But I mean, regardless of his pronunciation, what I think is, and I think it's a smart move, especially heading into the final. I guess it would be 3 or 4 games of the season. You give Ersson that extended time off so you can get Fedotov some more experience against a tougher team, which Ersson didn't really get. But you also get Ersson basically not necessarily a give me, but a confidence boosting game as well. So you got maybe you play him against Columbus. He gets a little bit of that confidence that he had back, get a little swag back between the pipes. Heading into the playoffs, you got both goaltenders. Should you have a good weekend? Both goaltenders heading into the playoffs feeling pretty good. I think that's a nice little way to head into the first time being back in the playoffs in a few years for the Flyers. And you got two goaltenders with some swag.
Right.
Ant saying Ersson should not start another game this year after what I saw from him the last 2 weeks. He's got no confidence. The only way to get it back, though, is for him to get a win. That's the only way for him to get it back.
That's what I just said. That's why you start him against Columbus. That's a confidence-building game right there, Ant.
Right.
Well, also,
the
Flyers need to score a lot of goals.
They do need to do that too.
That will help too, absolutely.
If they could score 5 or 6 goals, Ersson will settle down.
Goals heals all the ills.
Right.
It does.
I don't care how we pronounce Fedotov, as long as he stops the puck, whatever he wants. I'll call him whatever he wants. That's funny. I'm just gonna call him Fetty. That's what I'm gonna call him, Fetty. At this point, it's like, you know what? You're Fetty. From this point forward, that's your new name. Because I'm not gonna even try. There's your hockey nickname.
Well,
Welcome to the league.
He's a pretty
Fetty.
damn big goalie, man. From what I saw, seeing him first time playing against the Islanders, besides some film, he stands up tall. That big presence. He's 6'8", 215, almost 215.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big boy.
He covers a good portion of that net too. So that's a very important
thing.
Big
goalies is that they have trouble with low shots.
We'll see how it goes.
Just like short goalies, you shoot high on, and big goalies you shoot low on.
Yeah, can he get down? Can he make? I mean, for what we saw, he shows that he can keep a team in the game until they pot that key goal. That's what we saw.
Yeah.
I mean, but I mean, like, he was getting up and down, but I mean, in a game where it was becoming a sniper type game, where Flyers themselves got 2 from Noah Cates, and I forgot and Morgan Frost game time. Or no, he potted in front of them. That was the second goal. What they went from the same spot. Oh, the Sanheim coast to coast.
Sanheim, yep.
Yeah, and went high. That was an example of a guy going down too quickly. To your point, Brad, a shorter goaltender, that can happen. You can beat him up high, but he was showing he could get down, and he was using a lot of the sliding blocker, which is very typical of the Russian goaltender.
Yeah, they like to do that.
Yeah.
I've seen that before.
Yeah.
So SJM saying Fedotov equals Fetty Wap. And
it's always tricky playing against a goalie you've never seen before.
That's true.
And all of a sudden, if you can't beat him the first game, you start gripping that stick a little tighter.
For sure.
And Fedotov equals fettuccine. I'm liking this. SJM's coming up with some good stuff here.
Remember, guys, if they score a lot of goals for Ersson, that would really help. I was trying to make a point before about Quick with the Rangers on Saturday. Quick did not have a very good game, even though he won game number 392. Okay, he gave up 5 goals, and some of those goals were stoppable. I'm not going to say that that it was his fault, but he could have stopped. I think he should have stopped a couple of those goals. But you know what? Didn't matter. If you score 8, who the hell cares? You're
getting the Johnny Quick of today. So it's
but he's won 17 games this year. I mean, that's not a bad thing. But my point is, score some goals for this guy, okay? Give him a big lead so he can go out there and just relax. Maybe you will, the pressure is getting to him a little bit, which I think that's a big part of it. It's not just the fatigue. I think some of it's the pressure. I mean, he's never gone through this before.
Right.
So you get him some goals and he can relax and he can just go back there and have fun and stop fighting the puck.
Right. But it's important to see him in the pressure roles too, because this is an evaluation time for the Flyers. So, you know, can the guy perform under pressure as well as when a team, you know, performs
you
in
wanna
front of
get
you?
the guy-
I get what you're
100% agree.
saying.
But
Yeah.
you got to get the guy. You got to get the guy to a point where he's
Right.
sharp again.
Right.
And
But
that's
they got depth. They got so much
important.
like potential guys that could be the next franchise, right? Yeah, he's shown promise as a rookie, but you know, Brian said before, we're not even talking about Bjarnson, who was the best goaltender in the draft. You know, Danny created a stable of goaltenders because he saw a problem happening, and then he got into the, you know, extraction business and got him back over here. Now we're looking flush again. Yeah.
Let's
you think
go.
he hired a team of Delta squads to break him out of his Russian gulag?
18, baby.
But real quick, I do agree with Brad. Pove, obviously, you know, I agree with you 1,000% on that. He definitely needs to be in the pressure situations to see what he's made of, see how much ice is in his veins. But to Brad's point, they absolutely need to give him some more offensive support. They can't be going into these games leading into the third period, 3-2, 4-2. These close games, as much as yes, you're getting to see what he's like under this pressure. You got to get him more offensive support. You got to stop sitting back in the third and letting these guys take over on offensive possession time. You win games by playing in the offensive zone. You never, this time of year, you never let your foot off the gas because every point matters, and you're seeing it right now. The Flyers could very quickly fall out of a playoff spot with 2 losses.
Billy Halko, what's going on, brother?
What's up, Billy?
So I will say, before we wrap this up, Ivan Fedotov's Flyers debut, was there anything anybody wanted to highlight from anything else from his debut?
Unfortunately, I missed it. I finally got my cable up and running today, so I didn't get to see the game. It's been a hell of a week here, boys.
I did. I worked it in before, though. I mean, he looked huge, man. Nice big 82 right there in net, and he showed good calmness, good composure, especially as the Islanders were throwing the gauntlet there. And it took, you know, a freakish type play for, you know, him giving up the OT winner, that bad turnover in the defensive zone. But otherwise, you know, he looked good in terms of a guy that's just getting his first exposure to the NHL.
Right. So I'm going to throw this comment up just because it is SJM saying, I know this is hockey hour, but WrestleMania weekend, boys, I'll be there for Raw after. Excited to see them Rhea Ripley cheeks up close in person.
Yeah, boy.
Glorious, aren't they?
Oh, man.
I tell you, right now, if she wanted to be crazy, she could kill me. I don't care. Kill me. I'd die happy. I don't care. I don't care.
Listen, I'm going to say this. Yes, exactly. But I'm going to say this, boys. I'm going to say this. Not just because this is in Philly, but with the way that the card is lining up, this could be one of the most epic WrestleManias of all time. I like the whole saga between The Rock, the Bloodline, and Cody and Seth. I love that Jimmy and Jay are going at it. The women's world championship or heavyweight championship match is going to be one of the best ones between Becky and Rhea. I wish Liv was going to be a little bit more of a part of it, but you never know. I think the tag team match could be cool, although I'm not a big fan of most of the teams that are in it. I think it's going to be New Day getting number 12. But all in all, I think this WrestleMania in Philly here, and again, not to be a homer, I think this is going to be a legendary weekend for WrestleMania, boys. I wish I was going to some of the shows.
And boys, guess what? I'm going to both nights.
Get it, Maddie.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's going to be cold. It's going to be cold, though. Bundle up.
Don't worry. I'm going to be triple layering. I'm going to be like I'm going to a Flyers game.
Nice.
Rhea might actually take you out. You actually might die.
I might die happy. So if I'm not here next week, boys, you know what happened. Please.
Well, the quote Jack Nicholson as the Joker: "If you gotta go with a smile." You know what I mean?
Listen, I love Rhea, and I love everything about Rhea, from her personality, from her out of ring personality to top to bottom. She's amazing.
Oh,
if I could choose one wrestler to take me out, it's going to be Liv Morgan all day. Jersey girl represent. Let's go.
It's true. She is local.
She is.
Oh,
All right, boys, we got 35 seconds here.
all right. All right, I'm going to leave that up too, just to finish this off. All right, guys.
Coke and a smile, a W and a sig.
We thank you all for joining us. And we hope to see you guys next week right here. John, don't worry, Malmos. We saw you, brother. Thank you. Thank you to everybody who chimed in. Billy Hawko, subscribe, hit the bell, get those notifications, brother, so we can see you again here. And we hope that the Flyers can get back on the winning track and starting on, I believe Friday is the next game, is it not? Yeah, so hopefully they get back on the winning track against Buffalo. Until then, we thank you all for joining us. We were brought to you by Specialized Physical Therapy. Go to specializedphysicaltherapy.com if you got any aches and pains, and let the doc, Dr. Paul Vidal, take care of you. All right, guys, we'll see you next week right here. Stay safe, stay healthy. Peace and love, everyone.